Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I am wrapping up all my 2023 videos with rankings and stuff. So I am ranking the top 15 movies of this year. I am 9 Queen TV shows because on Letterboxd, if you find me on Letterboxd, I have ranked TV show specials and movies all on the same list. But one, I'm going to do my top 5 favourite TV shows and specials on that, and then I'm going to do the movies separately. So I was saying 15 movies that have came to movie theaters, or one in this case is a special, and the other one is a movie/documentary that only came out on Prime Video. But I didn't want to put that on a specials list because I didn't feel like that was fair to that one. And also, I felt like the one special was already kind of closer to a movie kind of length that I was like, I might need to put that on the movie list. Anyway, so let's get into it. I have 15 of these to talk about. And I have done reviews for all these except for I think one, and that's because it's going to be part of a review series that I'll do next year, kicking off the year. Number 15 for me is AntMan the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, I do think that it's the weakest out of all these movies this year, but I do think that it's underrated, and it's a 4 out of 5, and it's in my 4 out of 5 range in the middle section of my MCU movies. Like I said, if you guys saw my comic book one, where I rank all the comic book movies and specials and stuff this year, I had this one at the bottom as well because on rewatch, it is a bit slow and boring, but it does have some merits, and I think that the action scenes are cool. I think that Jonathan Majors as Kane is awesome, even though that is a bit silly that he gets defeated by ants. But I think the movie as a whole works more than it doesn't, and the humour hits, even though that you could argue that the look of the quantum realm in parts is like just green screen. I don't think that it's really, I don't think it's fake enough to tell that they're just on a green screen, even though when you watch the behind the scenes, it does kind of take that away. But I do think that this movie does have merits in the whole story of Scott trying to have more time with Cassie, and the whole thing of Hank, Hope, and Janet looking for Cassie and Scott and Cassie helping Kang and MODOK out is really good, and I think that there's a lot of different things that happen in Quantumania get overshadowed by the bad stuff by other people. But overall it comes in number 15. Number 14 for me is the Super Mario Brothers movie. Now, I was super excited about this movie. I will say this before I continue on. I don't think that there's a single bad film this year. I think that most of the films that people would consider bad, I would consider that they either don't understand or people just want to hate stuff just to hate stuff, or they're underrated, But number 4 in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I liked the soundtrack. It reminded me a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtracks. It didn't help that No Sleep Till Brooklyn was in it, which is one of the songs from Guardians 3. It had Mr. Blue Sky, very much how like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So I will not be surprised if, I don't know if that was part of the plan or that's why they had Chris Pratt, so it was a little like, look, Chris Pratt's going to be our Star-Lord for our Nintendo universe, and that is Mario. And I do think that it treats a lot of the characters with respect, unlike the 1993 film. Even though I don't mind the 1993 film in some aspects, I think that this one captures the games a lot more than that other one, which is just like, the other one was more like, let's go to an apocalyptic, let's go to a futuristic city where there's no dinosaurs, but every human is evolved from a dinosaur. But this one is very much like, let's keep true to the games. Let's do a Wizard of Oz thing where it's like, let's go down the pipe, and then we end up in the Magic Kingdom. And I think that Jack Black did an amazing job as Bowser. That song slaps every time I hear it. Peach, you're so cool, and with my star we're gonna rule. I love that song. I love annoying my dad with that song, because I think if I was giving my dad my ranking, he would shuffle all of it around and all that. And I do know the two movies that would be at the bottom of his list. But I really liked the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I think that there was a lot of cool things in this movie, and a lot of things that gave people a lot of nostalgia, and it's also very true to the video games in general. Now, number 13 for me, this is where I get a little bit controversial, but I am going to talk about positively, because I don't think that there's a single terrible movie this year that was flat out terrible. I think that Spiderman Cross the Spy comes for me at number 13. I love Spiderman Cross the Spy. I think it was a great movie that came out this year, and the best out of the two movies. But again, go watch my review of Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, and even my ranking that if like a day ago as I'm recording this, of the comic book ranking. The reason why I don't like Into the Spider-Verse is because that there's no setup to the multiverse. It's just like, let's do a Miles story, then let's throw the multiverse in. It was very much like, which you would think that people would just see a Spider-Man, whether if it's Miles or Peter, you throw a Spider-Man at the screen, it's going to sell tickets. You don't need to throw the Spider-Verse element into a movie like that. Unless, because Sony wants to make a big cinematic universe, that is your option to make a cinematic universe, is the Spider-Verse. The Spider-Verse, very much like how Insomniac's doing it. You have Spider-Man, PS4, you have Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, PS4, PS5, then you have Spider-Man 2 for PS5, and then you have all these different Spider-Man kind of games coming out, and then you'll end it with Spider-Verse. I think that that's the way that you should have done Into Spider-Verse. But Across the Spider-Verse improves a lot of things, and I got a lot of nostalgia of seeing Spectacular Spider-Man, Tobey's Spider-Man, even though that might be scenes that we've already seen in the other movies. I got nostalgia when I saw those, and I saw Andrew looking at Captain Stacy. I saw a lot of stuff that was like, oh my god, really? And I just really liked it. I think that there was a lot of stuff that I liked about Across the Spider-Verse, but I didn't love it as much as everyone else did, in my opinion. Now, I think it's one of those things where it's just like, well, what else do we do here? So, yeah, so that is why I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse at number 13. Then number 12 for me is Fast X. Yes, I did see Fast X, but I didn't see it at the theater. I did want to see it in the theater, but at that point, I didn't see the rest of the movies. Don't worry, next year I am going to review Fast X, because as soon as it comes to next year, I'm thinking of airing like almost weekly. I'm going to air and edit and film all my Fast and Furious reviews, and just kind of do that, just push them all out there, and you guys will get my full thoughts on Fast X. And then my ranking of the Fast and Furious movies at the end. But just for a quick recap of Fast X, I really liked it. I think that Jason Momoa was a great villain. I loved John Cena in this movie. I think that was great. I loved what you love about Fast and Furious movies, the insane action, the over-the-topness, and the race scenes of Vin Diesel, Dom, and Jason Momoa. That car chase scene that's all over the trailers is great, and seeing the hot girls and all over the bikes and the cars is really good. The soundtrack is good. The Angel song. My angel, don't fly across from me. I'll pull you down eventually. I love that song. I think it's really good. I really like this movie. I think this was one of the more overhated movies of this year. But I can see if you're a film critic, where I'm not a film critic, I just like giving my opinions, right? But these other people that would classify themselves as film critics, I'm not going to name channels, but like some other, that like movies like Quantumania, and don't like some movies that came out last year, particularly some that came out last year. I think that there was really good things in Fast X that redeem it, right? So, number 11 for me is Transformers Rise of the Beast. I actually had a really good time in this movie. Me and my dad had a really good time seeing this in the theater, and seeing Optimus Prime do his thing, and Bumblebee just kicking butt. And the only thing that fell short for me, and I went into this yesterday, and even my review for Rise of the Beast, is that I think that these are the worst human characters out of all the Transformers movies. But I think that there are some good things about the characters, and some redeeming things about the characters, right? So I think that there's a lot of good things with the humans, but we're more there for the Autobots and the Decepticons and the Maximals in this case. I think that there's a lot of good things in Rise of the Beast, and I think Rise of the Beast was so much fun, even though that is like, I think from some of these movies have slow bits at some points, until like around my, I want to say top 6-ish maybe. That's where you start to get really entertaining, or maybe top 4. But I think that there's a lot of good things in Rise of the Beast that, like I said with the others, people overshadow. And the action was really good. The final battle was so cool. It reminded me a lot of the final battle from Bumblebee. I mean, not the final battle. The first Cybertron battle from Bumblebee. It basically was like, let's do the Bumblebee Cybertron fight for literally almost like the last hour of the movie, and I think that was so worth it for me. And I love Rise of the Beast. Now, coming into my top 10, number 10 for me is the Marvels. Now, I really dug the Marvels. I think the villain was the worst part, but I was there for the connection between all of the girls. I think that Brie Larson, I liked the first Captain Marvel movie. I thought that she did a better job in this movie than the first Captain Marvel. I think that Micah was great. I think that Iman Vellani playing Kamala Khan was also great. I think that she was fantastic. I love what they did with this movie. There were some bits that were definitely like, no, you didn't have to do that. But I think that overall, it was very, very good and very entertaining, and I like what they were going for with the Marvels, and especially that mid-credit scene. Oh man, that set us up beautifully for next year. Both that, Multiverse of Madness, and even Miss Marvel by the ending. I am so excited for next year, making Deadpool 3 the only movie coming out for the MCU next year, along with like 2 or 3 shows. Number 9 for me is Barbie. Me and my mother did see this in the theater, and we surprisingly really dug it. I think that there were, like, the story that they were telling, the only thing that I didn't really like, not that the ending was bad, but I think that there was something about I mean, if you know Barbie and even Ken, and you'll know what I'm talking about, there's a decision that they do around the end of the movie, which you get why they did it for the message that they were telling, but also if you know everything about Barbie and even Ken, you kind of go like, why did you do that type thing, you know? But I think that it was really powerful, especially to young ladies. I think that there were a lot of interesting things. I think a lot of the comedic things in the comedians, a lot of the actors did a great job. It was a funny movie. Like, Ryan Gosling was great. Kate McKinnon was great. Margot Robbie is amazing in everything that she does, whether she's playing a Barbie doll, or she's playing Harley, or she's playing some very crazy person in Wolf of Wall Street or something like that, right? I think that Barbie nails what it wanted to nail and the message that it wanted to tell. Even though that like there's a choice at the end that you can't go like, but why? But I think that Barbie is a really, really solid movie that I liked more than some of the people that I know at work that went and saw it, right? But I really liked Barbie. Number 8 for me is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. Now, yes, this is the only special, pretty much, that I have on this list. But this one was more close to an hour, even though that's around like 48 minutes-ish. I really like this. I think that, like I said in the ranking for the comic book movies, I think that this was the best way to do a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers reunion special without doing a sit down in the command center and let's talk about our experiences on the show. Even though that you could have gone like, well, it would have been so much better if they got Amy Jo Johnson back and Austin St. John and Jason David Frank back. You could make those arguments, and even if they got Block and Skull in there, it would have been great. But it's one of those things too where you're just like, where you look at it and you go like, okay, I see what you do, and this is the best you could have done with a situation like this. So I think that there was a lot of things that happened in there that you're just like, this is the best you could have done for this special. And I'm happy to say that I liked it as much as I did, and it's my like 3rd or 4th favourite Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie in general, right? And I like even though that you kind of expect a bit more of a expensive, not a blockbuster, but more of a budget to it, I appreciate it for the filmmaking that it does, as opposed to the original series. This one has those spin-around shots and more clearer footage, and the CGI is also, honestly, in my opinion, way better than the blockiness of the costume Zord from the original series, right? So I appreciate more from a filmmaking standpoint than just like just the cringiness of it that is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So number 7 for me is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I really liked this movie. I think that, I don't know if this was because I liked it because I love the first Shazam and it's my favourite DC EU movie in general, or DC movie in general, right? Because I had such low expectations going into that first one. But this one I had such high expectations, and it met them, but also but also knocked them down a few pegs, if you know what I mean? Where it's like, it met them in a way that I was just looking for a good, enjoyable movie like the first one. But I was expecting it to be more like my second favourite DCU movie, and it wasn't that. It was like, it's still in my top 10, but it's not like anything crazy, right? So I think that Shazam! Fury of the Gods is one of those movies that is very, very good, but it doesn't do, like, a lot of these DCU movies don't, even though that you would like them as individual movies, especially me, I love them as individual movies, but as movies to close out the DC EU's final year, you're like, they didn't really do a good job of that at all, and you're just like, why did you do that? But I did like Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Now, number 6 for me is honestly The Flash. I kid you not, I actually really love The Flash. I think that The Flash was such a great movie, and it was one of those movies that I had this. It was my most anticipated movie of the year, and in both of those ways, it delivered. But I think that this one disappointed me less than Shazam did, because Shazam, Fury of the Gods, I was expecting to give like a 4.5 or even a 5-star to. This one went from me thinking that would be a 5-star film to a 4.5, because I still love this movie. I love the opening, and you finally get the connection of a DCEU, and you finally feel that you're watching a Justice League cartoon, and you're getting Flash, and you're getting Ben Affleck's Batman, you're getting Wonder Woman in there, you're seeing, like, yeah, sure, it's CG, but you're seeing Cavill Superman on the TV flying and saving people from the volcano and stuff, and you're seeing all of that, and then also you go back in time to do the whole thing of the Flashpoint storyline, right? But then at that universe that his mum's alive, he meets his younger self, and then because of that, he has to go find Batman and Superman, but then finds Batman, but it's my favorite Batman of all time, Michael Keaton's Batman, and he's just out of control good in this movie. His performance is way better than him in 89 and Returns, even though I love those movies. Even though I love Returns more than The Flash, I think that performance-wise, he's better in this movie than he is in Returns or 89. You get Supergirl, which is probably... I went into this movie going like, okay, I want Melissa to play Supergirl in this movie, because I love the Supergirl show, right? So, and it's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But watching this movie, I was like, this is very, very good, and very different from what I was expecting for a Supergirl in the Flash movie, but different in a way that I'm like, I can get behind this Supergirl. I really, really can. And seeing all the crazy multiverse stuff, seeing, sure, it's CGI and not great CGI, but you see Christopher Reeve's Superman, and you see Helen Slater's Supergirl, you see George Reeves' Superman, you see Jay Eric's Flash, and then you see Adam West Batman, and you see, I'm sure that there was another one in there before this big one now I get to mention, but then you eventually see this giant iron spider, and you're like, what the hell is this? Until he faces the screen and turns around, and you're like, oh my god, Nicolas Cage's Superman. What? Like, that is such a niche thing to not shoehorn, but to put in this movie. Like, that's such a bonkers thing to put in there. So, the fact that movie, the fact that this movie exists, this was more likely to exist than No Way Home, which is probably why No Way Home's my favourite movie of all time, and this is, on the lower half of my favourite movies of all time. But the fact that they accomplished this was bonkers to me. And then the Flash ending up in George Clooney's universe, and you get a Batman and Robin cameo. That is just like, oh my god. It's like, this is... So, even though that's still kind of confusing, where it's like, okay, so is the George Clooney universe, the Batman 89 universe, the way that we saw it through Batman 89, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin? Or is the Keaton universe now is just like a what if kind of universe? Or is Batman Returns one universe, and then Batman Forever, Batman Robin, a different universe now? So whatever way it is, it's funny to me, and it's so bonkers to me that that's a thing. But I think that is why I love The Flash. Now, number 5. Now, I'm going to go through this because I don't want this to be a third movie. I'll let my comic book one. Dave, I mean, not 35. Five for me is Oppenheimer. Now, if you saw my review, I actually really love this movie. Obviously, it's in my top 5. But the only complaint I had about, and I keep talking to my cousins and my mum and dad about, and some of them go like, yeah, you're probably right if I watch it again, and some of them are even like, no, but you don't get the effect of what happened after. It's like, yeah, sure, but I felt like they should have ended as soon as the bomb went off, because you felt like, well, obviously, not even just seeing the bomb go off, just seeing the whole screen, go from dark to full almost daylight. Or you feel like it's daylight, but really it's the bomb going off, and you can tell. But they're all smiling. We all know that they've done it, and you could have ended it right there. But then it goes on for like another hour or half an hour. And you're just like, that is a very good movie. And I want to watch it again, but I don't think I'm more likely to watch a 3-hour movie like The Batman or Endgame again, right? Because those are more like things that I'm into than to watch a history type movie about the atomic bomb. Even though I really liked Oppenheimer, and I think that it was so good, and Cillian Murphy was great, and RDJ was great, Emily Blunt was great, Florence Pugh was great. I loved all the actors involved, but I felt like that it was just a little too long for me to put it up higher. So for me, it's in the middle of my top 10. Now, number 4 for me is Scream 6, and to be honest, I did not expect Scream 6 to be this high on my list. It wasn't until I watched the movie in theaters, and I was like, I'm actually having a really fun time, and I'm preferring this more than the first Scream. And I think that one might have been my 4th favourite Scream movie at the time, or 3rd. I can't remember. But the first one, I really liked the whole thing of them adding Sydney and having Dewey in it, and with also, oh my god, I can't remember Courtney Cox's character's name. Gale, that's it. But just having Gale in this movie, I thought it did disservice to it. But I do think overall it made me fall in love with Jenna Ortega more. It made me in love with Melissa Mabera, or whatever her real name is. It made me in love with what they call the core 4 in this movie. It made me really love that movie. And I think that there was something about what made that movie so good that made me go like, yes, that is my second favourite Scream movie behind the first one. Number 3 for me, this is where you get into a movie that not a lot of people have seen, but number 3 for me is Hot Potato, The Story of the Wiggles. This one for me is more focused on how much it brought me into nostalgia, and the reason why I don't just like it because of the nostalgia, because obviously it's a very well-made documentary and gives you way more information than you get in, like, I love things like Owen's Brush of Fame, and I love the behind-the-scenes that people on that show tell for their stories. But I do think that there's a lot of things, but there are a lot of things that they didn't tell in that because they're in there for a short time just while their painting's getting done, that they can tell. But this one deep dives and actually goes into a lot more stuff. It goes into Greg's mental health. It goes into Anthony's mental health. It goes into the whole Sam situation. It goes into Greg's defibrillator heart condition that he had a few years ago. They go into what made the cockroaches turn into the Wiggles. It gave us this lot of stuff that we haven't seen in these other things that they talk about their behind the scenes and backstories in. And what I like about this documentary, especially, is that the Wiggles aren't just uh, aren't smiling faces and rainbows all the time. It is a dark, tragic thing. There are dark, tragic things happening behind the scenes, whether if it's a death, or it's a 9/11 event, or it's a heart problem, or it's a mental health problem. And those things are real serious things that everyone at some point goes through, whether if they live or die because of it. And I think that that's why I love this documentary so much, and why it relates to me, not only being a giant Wiggles fan growing up, but also learning those behind the scenes that I haven't learnt through Honest Brush of Fame, through that Anthony episode, or through podcasts that they've had the various Wiggles on, that sort of stuff, right? So I think that this is one that was like, this is the ultimate Wiggles behind the scenes documentary where we're just going to let it all out. And I think that there were a lot of things that I learnt because of that I didn't know before. And that's why I have it as my third favourite film this year, easily. Now, number 2 for me, easily, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. If you guys saw my original trailer reaction, I was like, I think that this movie's going to be good, but I don't think that this movie's going to be great. Because I was so scared about the art style. Not that I thought it looked bad, but I didn't want every anime movie that wasn't Pixar or DreamWorks to be the Spiderman Cross the Spider-Verse type of animation, because Spider-Verse came out, even though I liked the Spider-Verse movies, I think that those movies suit to that animation style, and if you break it to something else, like if you break it to a toy, not saying that Pixar would do this, but if you break it to a Toy Story or something, it's not going to fit. So the fact that we had like 3D and 2D animated turtles before, that in my opinion look great, this one I was like, I'm scared. But then seeing it, hearing the whole thing of Jackie Chan as Spoiler, and if you guys saw my fan casting video that I did for the Turtles, I wanted Jackie Chan to play a live action Spoiler. But hearing him do a animated Spoiler, kicking butt and and even giving him a Jackie Chan kind of fight scene to save the Turtles was so cool. Having the teaser Shredder at the end was cool. Having the whole thing of them, of the Turtles meeting the mutants and hanging out with the mutants, but then eventually Superfly going even more evil, and then Bebop, Rocksteady, Mondo Gecko, and all these other mutants and villains that we've had from the past actually helping the Turtles to take down Superfly was such an interesting thing that I was like, this is such a good movie. That I was like, yes, it's not the best TMNT movie. I have 3 more ahead of this that honestly 5 out of 5 stars for me. But this is one at the top of the list. This is at the top of that 4.5 out of 5 star section of my TMNT ranking. It's like, this is such a good movie that I wasn't expecting. Not that I thought it was going to be bad, but I thought it was going to be way worse than what it ended up being. But yes, I love Mutant Mayhem. I thought it was so good. Now, coming in number 1 for me, I talked about it in my comic book ranking, but none of these films felt, to me, I got more feelings out of this than any other movie. Yes, even Hot Potato Story, The Wiggles, because that one I did feel sad in a lot of moments, but this one just got me. And that is, of course, my number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, is such a great ending to the Guardians of the Galaxy that we know them, and such a good start to the new Guardians with Rocket, Groot, Kraglin, Cosmo, Adam Warlock, and the new girl that we get in Volume 3, right? I think that it's such a good beginning, but also ending to the legacy that is Guardians of the Galaxy that we got from that first Guardians movie, right to that second one, to Infinity War, to Endgame, even Thor Love and Thunder, to Guardians 3, that we've have spanned upon over 10 years, maybe a little more, maybe 15 years-ish, maybe a little bit more than that. but ending it this way was so good, and I never expected. I knew that something was going to be my number one, but I didn't expect Guardians 3 to be my number one at all. I did not expect that at all. So, guys, please, today's my top 15 favorite movies of this year. Let me know your guys' top 15 movies of this year. Let me know your thoughts on these movies down below. But yeah, guys, please hit the like button down below. Also subscribe. Also hit the little bell icon to get notified future videos I make. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.